very low, because if you don't feel that you've gotten the best bang for the buck at the end of 3 years, you can just hand back the buses, and there's been no investment. We're going to park these buses at a location that already exists with already fenced-in yard. The only investment we're going to make is probably put some security cameras on that yard so we can make sure the buses are not vandalized and stay safe. And I just think it's just going to give to the Lakewood board, the Lakewood administration, and the Lakewood taxpayers a tremendous amount of flexibility to react to the needs of the students in a way that we will have control. The contractors provide great services, and we're not complaining about them. But when the contractors provide services, it's limited to the contractual agreements that we have with them, the costs that they're charging us, and also their availability. We own the buses. We determine where they're going to go, how they're going to go, when they're going to be used, and also how well they're going to be maintained, and all of the things that I think are important to the parents, the taxpayers, the board, administrators, and the students. I think it'll be a really positive move.
Before the next presentation, Gus, I would like you to sit down with Mr. Diambola, Mr. Seidler, and Mr. Schwartz and review all the numbers. Before you need to sign off on it, Joe, you need to make sure the procedures is correct. Mr. Seidler, we're going to need to go over the finances from the board's perspective also.
Thank you, the chair. We have to move tonight.
Then I have one question. Last year we had this presentation, we went through the numbers, and it came out that the savings was going to be minimal. I forgot I don't have the definition in front of me, but the cost of buying the bus over 5 years was going to be that much more expensive. I was under the impression that we were talking about buying these buses through a bond issue, so we would pay that over 20 years. So then we would have that cost of savings, because if you're paying $80,000 over 20 years instead of over 5, you would recognize the savings immediately. So if I recall, if we're paying it over 5, I'm just doing this from memory from about a year and a half ago. It was more that we were going to break even for the first 5 years, and then after that we were going to be saving the money. And the question was, do we want to put up a capital investment now to save money in 5 years? What you're presenting now is that we will be saving money immediately. Could you just explain what changed?
Well, I think what changed is the numbers of buses that we were going to purchase. Creating a debt service and going to a bond issue was when we were talking about a much higher number of buses. And I believe that the board, if I understand correctly, there were some concerns about jumping into the water all at once rather than just going in feet first and then going in slowly. So this approach is a much slower approach, a much more controlled approach, and one that gives the board a very minimal risk with a lot of opportunities to see whether or not this department, the transportation department, can deliver, as I think we can, on the commitment to make these buses work both financially and also logistically.
Let me ask you a question. The bus that we have this year, did we save money on it?
I believe, yes, we have saved money, but remember, we got a late start. Had we had that bus in September and put it to use in September, I believe the numbers would have come in exactly where we told you. But that bus also, remember, we were only talking about doing trips with the first bus we purchased. These buses we're talking about giving committed work to, and that's why the timetable is so critical. If we don't have these buses in September, I can't assign work to them.
Mr. Fick? Gus, 2 questions. First, do you have those numbers here tonight?
I had given it to Mr. Diambola. I don't know if he has them with him.
Do you have them? I really wish there would have been.
We could have it to you.
Tomorrow doesn't help us. We're moving on tonight. Number 2 is, you're assigning work to all 6 buses?
Yes.
Okay. This week, the one bus that you had broke down, and there was people who went to borrow buses from a contractor?
Okay, well, the bus didn't...
It's not about the, it's not about the fact. My question is, are you having a spare bus? It's not about, I don't care that the bus broke down. I want to know if you're using all 7 buses, or if you're going to have a spare bus.
We
runs without spares, right?
No, we are going to have a spare bus at specific times. In other words, all 6 buses aren't going to be running at the same time. So if one bus is not working, the other bus will be able to recover.
Mr. Fink, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Have you considered the preventive maintenance program that's necessary, and who would do the maintenance on the buses if it breaks down?
Yes, there is a contractor located at the industrial park who's under state contract, and he would be able to provide those services for us. But remember also, these buses will be under warranty. So the maintenance work on these buses primarily would be covered through the warranty work provided by whoever the dealer is, depending on who we purchase from. These buses come with basically a bumper-to-bumper warranty for the first 5 years.
I just want to say one thing about the savings that we'll realize in the first 3 years, because it's only $14,000 per bus. Gus had presented to me that it was $179 per day per run. If you multiply that out by the 5 buses, it was over $161,000 a year. So if we're only spending $80,000 just for the bus runs themselves, with the repairs, with the bus drivers and everything else, it still came out to about $40,000 savings. Now, the captain, don't forget the driver's only part-time.
Tom, did you say total?
Yes.
161,000 total.
Oh,
That's not the savings.
that's not the saving cost. Just saving cost, there was a saving.
That's the cost of what we would pay you now.
Total. I'm confused. Gus, did you just say that it was, did I misunderstand that?
What is your question, sir?
Gus, I believe you said, and you were asked by Mr. Seidler if that's a total savings or if that's
No,
per
I didn't
bus.
ask that. I believe you said it was
You said it's
$30,000.
$30,000.
I believe we'll be able to save about $30,000 a bus, yeah.
Okay, so we have a big problem here.
Wait. Mr. Diambola gave you one run. One late run. They're going to do more than one run. Just on one run, we're paying right now $179 a day.
Okay, good. So you just,
That's just the late runs, that's all I talked about.
So there is no
Late
use.
runs.
One second, no. If it's $179 a run, are you telling me that a bus does 1,000 runs a year?
No, there's 180 runs a year.
180
Mr.
days.
Seidler,
180 days, times 179 is not 161.
why don't we do this?
Five buses.
So it is
Exactly.
It's
Five
always
buses.
a total.
That's just the late.
One run per
Just the
bus.
late
Just the late runs.
Just the late, you're saying.
Each of these buses should be assigned between 3 to 4 runs every day. One run is $179 right now is what we're paying as a district for the late run. Just one run per bus.
What's our cost per run?
It's going to be far lower. It's going to be, the hourly rate's $15 an hour.
Fuel, insurance, what is our?
Right, I did. I broke that.
Every company in the world that does business knows what their cost is for what they do. What is their hour cost per run? You're saying that we're taking runs that cost $179, and you're right, that's very high. That's not much, but what is it
But
cost?
that's the average. That's the average price for
Yeah, I
it.
understand. I'm asking, what does it cost?
That would determine how many runs we can do a day. The more runs we do, the more frequent we are.
Morning runs, the earlier runs will be less than $179 a run. These are $179 a run because they are the after-hours runs. So they run.
Okay, so let's rephrase the question. If we were only doing late runs, what would the cost per run be to the district?
It would be about, we'd have to pay about a minimum of 2 hours for the driver, so that's $30 a day. If you use $10 of fuel, that would probably be, because they get about 5 miles to the gallon. So you figure a late one route is about 15 miles. So you probably use about $10 worth of fuel. I mean, I'm doing these from my head, but I can give you a breakdown. I can tell you the numbers are substantially.
I have the breakdown here, Gus, that you sent to me. It's $15 per hour for the driver, no benefits. The average bus runs 5 miles per gallon. The average bus travels 10,000 miles per year. That's 2,000 gallons.
What is the cost of diesel today? I'm sorry, I don't even know.
Under state contract, you don't pay state taxes, so the road price you see is not what we would pay. It's about $3. It's up and down,
Okay, so
but it's
that's-
about $3 a gallon.
And so the fuel will be about 6,000 per year. The in general, repairs, oil and change, quarterly inspections for new buses are calculated at about $1,000 per year per bus.
Because they're under warranty.
Right, because they're in warranty. Right, that's the next sentence. Out of warranty, we calculate about $2,500 a bus. The inspections cost $25 per bus twice a year. And for 10 buses, obviously, that's $250. For 5 buses, for GPS, radios, and the video cameras, would be about $8,000. Snow removal for the buses would be the long handle snow buses. Excuse me, which is about $50 each. 5 buses would be $250. And insurance would be about $2,500 per bus, or $12,500 for 5 buses. So that's the total.
Is it necessary that our own buses have to have GPS?
We're requiring any bus.
Right, but our own. Is it necessary that our own buses have to have a GPS?
Why would we want to meet a lower standard than?
No, we would need GPS. We would need everything we're requiring, we need to have. You can't have the bus stop.
What about the video system? Is that?
Tom, the bottom line is.
That's what he's talking about.
Is there a savings?
Yes, there is.
Total savings to the district on a yearly basis?
Just for the late runs, and like I said, Gus had mentioned about other runs. I was looking at just the late runs.
Right.
And at the end of 4 years, we could take the savings and make the 5th payment or the 4th payment and have the buses free and clear. And we don't have to worry about the balloon payment at the end because the savings will pay for it.
Well, I was thinking that we would use the savings to offset tax increases.
Well, just for the first, well, the 5th year you can, and every year afterwards you
So
will.
we should proceed with this.
I really believe you should.
And you would use these buses for 15 years. Once you own them, every year after they're purchased, till you hit that 15th year, is a bonus year for you because you don't have the purchase cost.
The biggest thing though is that you have the option to opt out.
How many buses are we talking about?
Talking about purchasing 5, so a total of 7 buses would be owned by Lakewood.
Because I thought you had told me originally that we were going to have 5 large, 2 small. We changed it to 6 and 1?
Well, we already had 1 large and we already had 1 small, so we talked about buying just the 5 buses because the smaller ones would go in a different direction. Now I would actually be taking over some special ed work.
Through the chair, if I may mention one more thing. While we're looking at this cost savings, and which Gus just mentioned, it's a guaranteed cost savings by the way it runs. Put it in the bank, and everything else that's there is gravy. Any other run that comes is gravy.
Is the fixed cost already built in?
Exactly. On top of that, we're looking at another cost savings, which is for the homeless ones, which we can purchase caravans. It's not on tonight's, it's not the discussion tonight, but something that we were looking into as well, which we don't have to vote on tonight, but it's also another guaranteed savings for the district by doing our own, some of our own homeless runs.
Okay. Any other questions for Gus? Thank you, Gus.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on.
Lakewood Middle School Teacher of the Year is Mrs. Gladys Dunn.
As Ms. Winters introduced her, it is with great pleasure as the principal of the building that I introduce Ms. Gladys Dunn as our Teacher of the Year. Ms. Dunn, every time you walk into her classroom, you're going to see students that are actively engaged in rigorous instruction. She teaches both social studies and science in our bilingual department. She does a wonderful job with that. Furthermore, she's a part of our PBSIS committee. She's an active member of our PTO, and she's just a wonderful asset to the building. And congratulations, Ms. Dunn.
The LECC Teacher of the Year is Mrs. Shani Schloss.
She is a model teacher. She is an excellent leader. She believes that all children can learn, and she really inspires us all every day at Lakewood Early Childhood.
I'm honored to accept the award as Teacher of the Year for the Lakewood Early Childhood Center. I just want to say that I represent a team of quality educators at the preschool level. The Lakewood School District has built a preschool that is now run beautifully by Michelle DiPietro. She believes in education, and especially early childhood education. She supports us at all levels, and I think that other districts are going to want to come see our program. And keep up the great work at the school district.
At this time, we're going to do committee reports. Do we have Mr. Simon? No? Right. At this time, we have no committee reports. Moving on, correspondence and communication. Okay, before we open it to the recognition of the public, I just want to mention one thing, that beginning next week, we're going to enter in negotiations with our attorneys. Mr. Diambola and myself, Mr. Siler, are going to be sitting down with Mr. Edelston and his company to renegotiate their contract through the end of January. Thank you.
We have one. And then seven.
Right. Recognition of the public. I don't think we had a sign.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, okay.
So we have
Pastor Wilson. By the way, everyone, feel free to take a piece of cake.
Yes, in the middle of all of this celebration, I want to say to the board, I was sitting here thinking that 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, we were in dire shape. We were in bad shape. And we have come a long way. We have come a long way. Everything is not perfect. But tonight is not the night to talk about those things in which we differ. But I do want to say to the board, you guys made some tough decisions along the year to bring us this far. And I want to say to Carl Fink and Laura Winters, the board, stay the course. I just heard that you are going to be renegotiating the contract for our attorney. We have to keep these folks. That's the most, that they are a class act, and they are also a part of the success that we have had this far. So I want to say to the board, stay the course. Carl, stay the course. You have made some tough decisions. We didn't always agree with the decisions you made, but things are working. And those things that we believe that are not working, I mean, we are still having these issues with the budget, but those things can be worked out. But stay the course. Things are looking up, things are looking good, and we support you 100%.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Mr. Neckrow.
Yvette, we missed you.
Miss you too, Mr. D. Good evening, everyone. And because you missed me, I'm actually standing. I meant to come a couple months ago. As you all pulled up to the Lakewood High School, you saw the lovely sign that says, "Welcome to Lakewood High School." Just one of the many positive things that have taken place here at the high school. That donation was actually the PTSO here at the high school coordinated with the Lakewood Education Association, who donated the sign to the high school. So I want to recognize them publicly for helping out and to try to spruce up the place, you know? And also, I know most people have left, but on May 7th, the first Tuesday of the month, is the high school PTSO meeting. This May, May 7th, we will be having an open house for parents to come in, and we've already met with the high school PTO to invite the 8th grade parents to come on over. Let's get started now, so by September, they're up and running and everything is moving along. And I just want to publicly thank everyone, and as Pastor Glenn said, we didn't always agree, but I personally will say this has been one of the best school years in a very long time. I can't say about the non-public because I really don't know, but for the public school, the enthusiasm that's in the district. Again, we have to work some things out, but just the level of expectation, the kids are feeling it, and I also want to say for the seniors in this high school, the kids have been through so much, and to see them step up in leadership roles and participate in competitions throughout the state, that feels good. So when I say I'm from Lakewood, I'm from Lakewood. You know what I
I just want to say one thing. Thank you, Annette. This board has brought 2 special programs to Lakewood for the first time. And the eyeglass program that we presented a few months ago to the PTOs has been working excellent. Over 200 children living in Lakewood have used this service to date. I was there today just checking up on it. And over 200 children have gone there for eye exams that they weren't charged for, many board classes at a much reduced rate, just being a Lakewood resident. And the other program that we introduced 2 months ago, actually, is between the Blue Claws and Lakewood. And the Clifton Avenue School just used this past weekend and sold over approximately 500 tickets, where the PTO has gotten back a nice hunk of change for that particular school. And we're working on a program now that hopefully the entire district will take effect, and we're going to be inviting all the principals over the next two weeks down to a Blue Claws game and to have dinner there and to see what else we can do through the summer collectively, and hopefully we can get some parents to work. I'll be there working also, where for every game we work, the district will get $750 plus per game. So just figure if we can do 4 or 5 games or more, each PTO will get 750 plus the sales of tickets. So hopefully we can get, before the end of the baseball season this year, almost $1,000 per PTO. So information will be coming out from the board and the administration on that the early part of next week. So we're looking for everybody's participation with that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hoppe?
Bill Holiday, 30 Schoolhouse Lane. I don't want this to sound like the Mutual Admiration Society.
It's okay.
Okay, then I will. Mr. Fink, you've been magnificent in your role. I thank you so much for that. You know the hours that spent on this, Mr. Seidler, with the budget, with Mr. Diambola. You've got world-class people here as your professionals. This is the first time that Lakewood Township could say that. But you got them, Miss Winters, you recruited these folks, they're doing the job. I see the pride. I see everything coming together. What a magnificent turnaround. How'd you do this? Well, you applied business management. tools and common sense. How do I look at my issues and make them opportunities? What do I need to do to fix this program that went awry, or that program, or another program? You can't do it with second and third rate professionals. You have to have the best. You've recruited them, you got it. And we're on our way to recovery. Stand in there, we're with you. There's going to be some brickbats. I know that, you knew that. This is not an easy job. It's a thankless job. Except for tonight, when 3 people with this microphone in succession come up and said, Mr. Fink, thank you. And Mrs. Winters, that goes for you. Board, that goes for you. New professionals, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Simon.
Larry Simons, 7 Schoolhouse Squad. Mr. Fink, members of the Lakewood Board of Education, good evening. An article was published in the April 22nd, 2013 edition of the Forward with the following, quote, Town of Lakewood grants bigger computer subsidy than poorest cities. How does Jersey Shore town of 93,000 outstrip Newark? End quote. Further partial quote, a federally backed program subsidizing internet access for low-income students has committed more monies to schools in the town of Lakewood, New Jersey in recent years than to schools in any other municipality in the entire state. Yet, after several years of participating in the E-rate subsidy program, Lakewood schools report having far fewer internet-capable devices per student than any large New Jersey city, according to a Forward analysis. Less than 1/10 of the E-rate money has gone to Lakewood's public school system, which has one of the worst high school graduation rates in New Jersey. Excuse me, that's a quote. The rest is granted to the town's private schools, end quote. Here's another interesting fact. Quote, besides the Lakewood Public School District, only 8 of the 66 Lakewood schools that received E-rate subsidies in a 2011 report having more than 10 computers or other internet-capable devices, end quote. Further quoting, I think it's unfair, said J. Michael Rush, a former official with the New Jersey Department of Education and a former public school superintendent who lives in Lakewood, of the large amounts of E-rate money going to Lakewood's private schools. It's inequality, no matter how you look at it, end quote. And the article additionally states, quote, cities with larger populations of poor children should receive more in E-rate funding. Yet Lakewood has only half as many children living in poverty as Newark does. Again, end quote. Last quote. Ultra-Orthodox leaders in Lakewood have railed against the dangers of the internet, especially for young people raising questions, end quote. I now ask, if these ultra-Orthodox leaders are railing against the internet, why and where are the E-rate monies being used? Why is almost 9/10 of every E-rate dollar that Lakewood receives being granted to the private schools if they're being railed against by the leaders of the community?
Larry, it's a good comment. So it's a federal grant, so we don't have any control of it, but I know the schools do use it for telecommunications. There are other avenues and pointless that they could use it for. Steve, do you have any comments on this grant that Mr. Simon is talking about?
I really don't. I will look into it and let you know. I'm really
really not so familiar with the applications.
Through the chair, I understand this has nothing to do with our board, this doesn't flow through the board.
No, it doesn't. We don't.
So we have no knowledge.
Okay, we'll look into it, Larry, but I mean, it's a federal grant, the board has nothing to do with this, and to be honest with you, we didn't even know about this until it appeared in the paper. So, but I'll have Mr. Edelstein look into it, we'll get you an answer. Thank you.
That doesn't mean the school district does not apply for those grants. That's a grant specifically for non-public schools that they actually have to apply for that grant.
And they get it from Washington. I mean, honestly, we have nothing to do with the federal grant, except when a grant is beneficial and our grant department goes after it for the public schools and the children of Lakewood, something like that is completely out of our hands.
If I may ask a question? If 9/10 of this E-rate money goes to the private school system and 1/10 goes to the public school system, who makes this allocation as far as which school gets the money?
Right.
I would imagine the federal government, Steve, am I right?
That's a good question.
Oh, just, Jim?
I think the formula is just totally based on the requests from the schools. It happens to be that.
Actually, the E-rate is something we do subscribe to. It's totally funded by your student population and your amount of free and reduced lunch. So the Lakewood School District on the public side, we use it to provide internet access. We purchased all new servers last year with it. And we also use it for telecommunications and wireless. So we are, in the last 2 years, we've actually taken quite a bit from the E-rate funding. What happened in the past, and maybe the numbers you're seeing don't reflect that, is the amount of free and reduced lunches in the district were something that was overlooked. So there's been quite an effort to get those numbers reported, and in turn we've been funded for that effort. So I'm not quite sure what numbers you're looking at, but it's something we certainly take advantage of.
In essence, you're getting 1/10 according to the article.
What he's saying is that we, based on our numbers of our free and reduced lunch in the public school, we used to have only 1/10 of what they had in the non-public schools. But the non-public schools apply for their E-rate and we apply for our E-rate. How much we get and how much they get, I mean, you can go figure out, you go look at the numbers, you can check it out on Washington, somewhere in Washington. But we only get 1/10 because we weren't so aggressive with the free and reduced lunch. Over the past few years, we've been more aggressive. So I'm sure that that fraction has gotten a little bit closer because it really should be about 15%. We should really be getting about 3/10 or so because we do have 5,000, they have 25,000. So
You use the word "we." I just heard that from Mr. Fink that you have nothing to do with it.
I mean as in the public school. So we have increased our free and reduced lunch.
That the public school does have some say.
Not with the non-public, our E-rate. We get our E-rate. Let's say there's $10,000.
We have our separate applications for our
apply.
Do one at a time.
We apply for our E-rate, and let's say we get $10,000 for whatever number of children we have. If we increase our free and reduced lunch, children will get $20,000. Now, if the non-public schools get $100,000, that has to do with them applying to Washington. That has nothing to do with us. The proportion may have used to be 1/10, and now it's 2/10. But that has to do with how many more free and reduced lunches we can get. We can't stop them from applying for their E-rate.
Mr. Simon, when Betsy mentioned we, he meant the Board of Education.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for the public session. You have a question?
May I speak? I know I didn't sign in, but may I?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Jackson, 271 Joe Parker Road. Y'all make me very happy to come. As I sat there and I listened and I heard as each students, even the awards that you gave out, the incentive even to the teachers showing them, telling them how much I appreciate what they have done. I sat here for years, Mr. Waters, Mr. Osborne, Mr. Pastor Wilson, different ones. We sat here and I have seen some classes get X out of Lakewood, Scholastic get wiped out. I said, my goodness, what's going to happen to our children? As far as I was concerned, seemed like they showed pictures and things of finger painting. Years ago, it seemed like it, they used to just say, let me hear with our children finger paint, they did well, you know. And I don't want to call no name, but one person because they would say, how you like that, man? Isn't that good? They would give them a hand at him. And it seemed like everybody was a puppet. And as this one individual spoke, everybody reacted. But tonight, it's totally different. I like what I see. I like what I heard. I noticed that all the emphasis was not putting on the athletes either. But there was a lot put on towards those who had education, what they have done. So you let me know, you show me that you have moved from one place to another. We ask you, are you concerned about our children? Tonight you have proven that. I applaud you. Thank you very much.
I can only say this one comment, one time. In November, don't forget, we need to get the public out there because it could be major change and we can go backwards again. So we're going to need to get everybody out to vote. I am. I'm looking at the children's endorsement.
I'm Valerie Smith, 196 on Clay Boulevard. I was just wondering if all the programs that the RAC has recommended are now being implemented in the school, and I'd like to know if I could come in to the administration and get a listing of exactly what those programs are, and if there is a cost associated, the Title I monies that are being readjusted for that. I'd like to get an accounting of that. Would that be possible?
Absolutely possible. Well, RAC doesn't recommend programs. We recommend programs. RAC is
well, RAC is basically, you may recommend them, but they're the ones with the ultimate say. But I'd like to know, are all of their recommendations, are they being implemented now? Or they are? And you have extended school time?
We have after school activity. We have after school tutoring clubs, yes.
All right, and those after school tutoring clubs, are they optional or children have to take them?
Well, we can't make children stay after school.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Close the public.
Are we holding by a motion for the agenda?
Speaking to two people.
Motion to pass the agenda.
Second. There's a couple of changes.
We have to vote on the agenda. On page 4, Bill's list has an additional $126,833.14 So the new number for the those lists will be $5,641,832.53. Page 13. Remove Christopher Brick. Page 13, second item down.
For those board members who weren't there, Christopher Brick was on.
You repeat that?
Christopher Brick was on yesterday. Effective
He's asking who he was.
Assistant DA.
Oh, serious?
He was the assistant DA, you don't know?
This is the presence of other side there. Notice that tonight. Why is it?
He said effective June 30th to 12.
Only your mumblings down here.
I'm not surprised by that.
All right. Tom,
Page 18. Item number 35, the third name down, change the name from Alicia Galley to Alicia Sanchella. On page 35, a name change, that's all, from Alicia Galley, the third one down. On page 35, on page 18, item 35. The last name is now Sanchella, S-A-N-C-H-E-L-L-A.
That would apply to both of them.
Both paragraphs, I'm sorry, it's not one.
No?
No.
I'm sorry.
It's on the top of the closet. Just what I said first. On page 21.
Torah Resort.
Torah Resort. It's, the amount is changed to, from $534.20 to $1,034.20.
Which line? Which school?
The nose speaker. It's changed to $1,034.20. And Shiva,
this time.
The one changed from $2,032. It's changed from $2,032 to $2,892. Got it? On the next page, on the top, the notes, Nina? No, on the top of the page 22. It's changing from $1,131.10 to $2,000 even. On page 26, two items, actually 3 items. On item number 55, we move Christopher Brick. Item 56 and 57, it's a name change for the company from Rignall Construction Company to MCH Development on both items. Sorry? I'm still here. On page 35, item 4, D4, remove item 4. On page 38, excuse me, person number 3, add pending availability of Title I funds. That's all we're going to take about.
Not taking that.
You skipped something with that.
What did I do?
Page 9, item 3.
Page 9. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I have it. On page 9, down that we award the bids to all companies and they will be chosen by the respective school. On page 43, item J, these are certified personnel. They have to be moved to the certified column. And number 2 with it. Yeah, item under J is number 1 and number 2. Oh, and I'm sorry, on the top, number 2. Patricia O'Neill, the salary is $27,500. That's the change I have, Mr. President.
Okay, fine. Okay, we have a motion and a second as corrected.
Motion, please.
Motion by Mr. Greenspan and seconded now as corrected.
Discussion. We're making a motion on what I
Motion to accept the changes.
Motion to accept the changes?
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed?
Ready? A motion on the business administrator.
Well, you got 8 lines, says, table from last meeting, it doesn't say who it's from. So I would assume that, that should be a separate motion.
What?
A to I, the motion.
Motion, we're doing it all together.
From the last motion.
We're doing it all together.
Transportation items that were tabled from the last meeting was already tabled to this meeting,
Right, and there
so we do not need a motion to put it back.
No.
You're saying, I'm moving both. The motion is on everything until all the way to whatever page we can do that.
Well, before we do that, let's do the minutes.
Yeah. We have a motion on the table.
It's supposed to be the minutes first. On minutes for March 28th, Mr. Friedman, Mr. Greenspan, Mr. Silver, and Mr. Seidler must abstain because they were absent. Same thing for the budget on the same day.
Motion to approve.
One.
Second. Second.
Okay. Mr. Slack is out here, so we have 4 votes for the, Mr. Tiff,
Yes.
Mr. Lund.
Yes.
Mr. Short.
Yes.
Mr. Fink.
Yes.
On the 28th, the regular minutes.
Yes, motion to
Vote.
approve. That was, good.
There's not 5 votes over there.
You don't need, I'm sorry, there's a change. I need a change on the minutes of the 28th, the regular minutes. Added the name of the MCH Development is providing services and corrected the school name where the trailers are. It's Yeshiva Orchos. Okay. So that's a change to the minutes. The motion to accept the change.
She mistyped it. Oh.
So the correct minutes reflect the meeting.
That's right. I want a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
Yeah, okay.
Motion.
Motion to accept the correction.
Mr. Second.
I wasn't here.
I'll second it.
Mr. Schwartz.
Change.
Mr. Tiff?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Okay, now you go on the agenda.
Second, let's go. Okay, we now get back to our, second, was on roll call. Discussion, there was a discussion on
Is
the
there a
agenda.
discussion on the agenda?
All the way till page 13. No, all the way through page 13.
Through page
Go
12.
page 13. The whole business.
The whole,
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I thought we were going to do something and read out loud items number 25 through 28.
I need a motion first, which is on the table.
I made a motion.
No, just the
Those are the donations.
seconded.
What are we voting on right now?
Okay, guys, the motion is for the business administrator items, which is through 12.
Which is through page 12, all the way to the superintendent's items on page 13. That was the motion, that was the second.
There's one question. On page 13, you have Assistant Board Secretary Christopher Brick. You took it off.
I was that part of voting on superintendent items as part of the business administration.
It's not. You could vote on the whole agenda at one time. Just fine, because he's looking at it.
Why don't we vote on the whole agenda at one time?
You could. You asked this question, why are we putting that together?
We're not putting them together. We are voting on business administrative items only.
Why is it so
Up
complicated?
until superintendent items.
Why do we vote?
The motion was from, until through page 13, it was first and it was second, so. roll
That's
call.
right. Let's vote on that.
Mr. Friedman?
Come back to this.
Mr. Greenspan? Mr. Tiff?
Yes.
Mr. Lund? Yes. Mr. Schwartz?
I don't understand what the motion is, guys. If you want to clear it up, I'll go.
1 to 12.
Including page 13.
Motion is
13 is superintendent.
You made the motion.
I said till 13.
Okay, so you can understand the motion is only through page 12. Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Silver?
Yes.
Mr. Seifert?
Yes.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mr. Greenspan?
I abstain from the whole.
Mr. Friedman?
I'll take the vote.
I have to tell the board that we need 6, I have 6 votes, that's okay. Item number, the resolution for the lease purchase, you need a 2/3 majority, which we have. 6.